I was thinking this morning about Legion. And how, what did Legion say? We are many. And then I started thinking about religion. And how when it comes to religions, there are many. I had to sit down at a Methodist wedding one time, and I had to talk to one of the Methodists there. Oh my God. I talked to this man for 20 minutes, and I just said, hey, I had enough, and walked away from him. But he spent 20 minutes telling me about how the Methodists have it right. They've got it all figured out, y'all. And then I thought about all my encounters with the Pentecostal, and they've taken one line in the Bible, taken it completely out of context, and made an entire religion out of it, making a gift into a requirement. I can remember the times when I was young. See, I went to a Baptist church. I never went to one when I was a kid. I didn't grow up in church. But I remember when I would go to my granny's house when I was young, she went to a Baptist church. When I would go there with her, she would tell me about how right they have it. The Baptists have it all figured out, y'all. But oddly enough, my grandfather was a Mason, and my grandmother was a, hell, I don't know what they call them, Masonette, Eastern Star. But I used to listen to death metal when I was a kid, and a lot of it's satanic, and there's a lot of symbolism on the album covers. And I remember looking at my granny's plates, the Eastern Star plates, and I thought, man, that looks just like the symbols that are on my, my satanic metal albums. That's odd. And then as I got older, I realized, what was it? Aleister Crowley was a 33rd degree Mason. You should look up who Aleister Crowley is. Yeah, not a... Anyway, you should look into Aleister Crowley. But it got me to thinking, man. Satan has to be laughing at us. He's gotten us so divided. Like, my religion is better than your religion. And when it comes to Catholicism, don't even get me started with that. I went to a Catholic school for 3 years. It's when I really started to hate God. And that's when I quit school. I went from the 6th to the 8th. I knew I wanted nothing with God after 3 years of Catholicism. And why is it that their church in Rome is designed like a snake's head, and people still go and attend it? It ain't just designed like a snake's head on the outside. Even on the inside, it looks identical. You could look it up on Google Maps. Why is that? Their church is literally designed as a serpent. Satan has to be laughing at us. Look at them, y'all. Those people think they've got it right. They got it right, and they don't like each other because theirs is better than the others. Na boo boo. I'm going to tell you about the best church service I ever went to. By far. And it was real. See, I'm not religious. And I'm not into religion. I hate both of those words. I'm just real. And I have a relationship with God. But I had just beat a 20-year sentence. If you listen to my videos, you know this. But part of my probation was I had to go do 30 days. First 2 weeks I was in there, it was just some regular little tank. But they moved me to a gang tank the last couple of weeks I was there. And I met an African man who was facing 40 years. And me and him started talking. He knew Christ. I knew Christ. And so he's like, hey, you want to have church? I was like, well, hell yeah. So it was me and him, a white man and an African man, 2 black dudes who were from the area that I was from on the outside, and an Italian guy who was scared to death because he ain't never been in no trouble. And we sat down in between the bunks. See, I don't like singing too much. I love to praise. When I sing and praise, I like to do that by myself. But on that particular day, that was the most fun singing I'd ever done. It was just 4 guys, man, praising God right there in that gang tank. All different people, much different people. But God, Jesus Christ, brought us together that day. I'll never forget that church service. There was no lights. There was no cameras. There was no smoke. There was no mirrors. There were just 4 inmates worshiping God. No money either. Wasn't even any commissary involved. We just sat down and had a real service. And that was the best church service I've ever had in my life. Anyway, I hope this message helps somebody. Always remember, right? Where two or more gather in His name, He will be there.